Hi everyone. So in this video, I'm going to be doing 3.1 on page 100, 3.2 rather, sorry, on page 188. So we are beginning with factoring polynomial expressions, and the get started is given in here, right here. Okay, so there's your question. So factor x squared minus 4x minus 21. And to be able to do this, what we need to do is figure out two numbers that multiply to negative 21 and add to negative 4. So if we go by what we learned the last time, we look for our a value, our b value, our c value. Our a value is 1, our b value is negative 4, our c value is negative 21. So 8 times c would be 1 times negative 21, or negative 21. Our b value is negative 4. Therefore, once again, we are looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 21 and add to negative 4. All right, so I think those two numbers that we are looking for would be excuse me, negative 7 and positive 3. All right. If you want, you can check it out. Negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. Negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. And what happens? So to solve this, the final factored form would be x here, and minus 7 here, and plus 3 here. And of course, you can switch them around if you like. Quickly do your FOIL to be able to check. X times x is x squared. Negative 7 times x is negative 7x. Plus 3 times x, which is 3x, gives you a sum of negative 4x. And the last term would be negative 7 plus 3 times 3 is negative 21. All right. Let's go to our check your understanding. To determine whether a given binomial is a factor of a given trinomial. Now, we are trying to figure out whether d minus 4 is actually a factor of this trinomial. I will go a different route compared to how it was done in the book, because I just feel that it's easier if we are to just factor and figure out whether d minus 4 would come out as a factor when we do the factoring. Now, I know I said the word factor a lot of times, so this is what I mean. All right, so let's just try to factor this for now. So 2d squared plus 6d minus 56. Do you notice that all three terms are even? So maybe we can factor out the 2. So we have d squared plus 3d minus 28. All right. So 2d squared plus 6d minus 56. I'm just doing a quick check to be able to make sure that when I factored out the 2, the trinomial that I have here is correct. So really, I just need to factor this and see whether d minus 4 is a factor. All right. So we are looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 28, because our c value, or our ac value rather, is negative 28, while our b value is positive 3. So let's look at those numbers. All right. What two numbers would have a product of 28 and have a difference of 3? That would be 7 and 4. But one of them has to be negative because the product is negative. And I think you would see that this is 7 times negative 4 and 7 plus negative 4. All right. So we are able to come up with our factors for d squared plus 3d minus 28. So the factored form of d squared plus 3d minus 28 would be equal to d here and d here. All right. Minus plus 7 minus 4. So we were able to come up with a factored form of this one, and you will have a 2 at the beginning, of course, because we factored out the 2 here. We are trying to figure out whether d minus 4 is a factor of the trinomial, and we can see that, oh, when we factored it out, we have d minus 4 here. What does that tell us? Yes, D minus 4 if, is a factor of the trinomial because when we factored it out, we found it to be right here. Okay, next one. 3D squared plus 13D plus 4. So we are trying to figure out whether D minus 4 is a factor of this trinomial. All right. So once again, I will just go by factoring this one. And if it turns out that D minus 4 is a factor, then it's all good. Okay. So 3D squared plus 13D plus 4. Okay. What are the factors? As you look at the three terms, I don't think you can factor out a particular number from all three terms because I don't see a common factor, which means I will probably go by decomposition, wherein I would look at my AC value. A times C is equal to 3 times 4. All right, my A value is 3, my C value is 4. That would be a 12. While my B value is 13. What are you going to do? We are looking for two numbers that multiply to 12 and add up to 13. All right, two numbers multiplies to 12 or have a product of 12 at the same time they add up to 13. What would that be? I think that's a 12 and a 1. Okay. And then what do you do? If you recall from our discussion about decomposition, decomposition means you will be decomposing or splitting the middle term. All right, only the middle term. And the middle term will be split up into these two numbers right here. Okay, so let's take a look. The 3D squared will remain the same. The 4 will remain the same. While the middle term would now become plus 12D plus 1D or just D. Okay. The next step is to look at the first two terms and then see what you can factor out from those two, and then look at the last two terms and see what you can factor out from those last two. So from these two terms, I think you can see that both terms have a factor of 3 and D. So that means we can factor out 3D from the first two terms, and we have D plus 4. Okay, quickly check. 3D times D is 3D squared. 3D times 4 is 12D. And I told you last time that if you are doing this correctly, the next binomial that you will have should have D plus 4 also. Okay. And if you're thinking, okay, so what do I factor out? Well, what you're going to factor out is a positive 1. Okay. So what does it mean? The next step is to ask yourself, what is common to the first and second terms if you consider this whole thing as a first term and this whole thing as a second term? You will see that D plus 4 appears in both terms, so D plus 4 is factored out. If you do that, it's almost the same as saying as this is taken out, and what is left is just 3D plus 1. All right. So we were able to factor the original expression, which is 3D squared plus 13D plus 4, and we came up with this. We are trying to figure out whether D minus 4 is a factor, and as you can see, it is not, so the answer is no. Okay, so that's your get started and check your understanding number 1. Thank you for watching. Do the practice work. Bye.